Hey y'all, the real Jimmy Roberts one here. Welcome to Mars Fam. Wait, what? What is Mars Fam? That's a crazy name. Am I suggesting that we humans originated on Mars? That we're from Mars? No. I'm not suggesting any sort of thing. But let me ask you something. Do you honestly feel as if you know the full, true history of mankind? How long have we actually been around? How old is the Earth, the Moon? And when were the pyramids built and by whom? Now these are things to which the answers have changed over the years. Astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson says the good thing about science is that it's true whether or not you believe in it. Well, maybe so. But when humans collect discrete scientific facts and then assemble them into the models we use to get paradigms like evolution, how long ago the craters of the moon were created, and how the dinosaurs became extinct. You see, those things and the answers to some of those things are not scientific fact. They are theories. And when you teach theories like evolution to fourth graders, it might as well be taught as fact. That is truly how our early thinking is shaped. But the truth about all of it is, we really don't know. We as a race collectively feel as if we're all this out there. Now, many of you may say things like, but there has to be others. Surely we can't be the only life. But do you really think it and feel it? Because I seriously doubt you were taught that. And this otherworldly life isn't exactly jumping out there and saying, hey, Earthling, here I am. But what if you knew for certain that our next door neighbor, Mars, absolutely, positively had organic life, intelligent life? What if we all suddenly knew this as fact? It would be a watershed event. Just to know that someone else was actually absolutely there would be watershed. Well, that's where Mars Fam comes in. It's why we're here. Yes, we have an agenda, and that agenda is to change the world's perception. Mars Fam is here to start a paradigm shift. Welcome to Mars Fam. NASA, the European Space Agency, and others, and they know a lot more than they let on. Now I know we've suspected for years that they scrubbed images, but I'm here to tell you it's a lot more than just that. The best place to see the evidence for both the decimated non-Earth civilization and the accompanying cover-up is in the images from Mars, specifically from the rover Curiosity. Now, from the work I and others have done, and from the thousands of images we have scrutinized, and from the other information we've received from trusted sources, I'm going to show you and explain to you how I believe this charade is being carried out in the imagery. Now first, there's something basic that you must understand. When we see an image from NASA's Curiosity rover and we're told it's the raw image, we assume it either comes from NASA's official image archive or some related housing service. Now that raw image was rendered by NASA from the data it received from the Deep Space Network, which includes the satellites orbiting Mars, and before that you've got the rover itself and the cameras. They use UHF and X-band frequencies to carry the data along, and it arrives here on Earth. Now that PDS data is supposed to be the raw stuff. So, as I mentioned, NASA takes that and renders it, or turns it into something we can actually see. Okay? You with me? Because I'm about to take a turn here. And when many of us look at these images, we immediately notice they are flawed. They appear to be obfuscated, or as if a combination of things have happened making it difficult to see clearly. A lot of people will say this is intentional, but wow, what an undertaking that would be, because we're talking about what? Hundreds of thousands of images? That raw PDS data I mentioned, it's available online. Did you know that? I mean, what are you going to do with it? By itself, it's useless. But if you have the know-how, you can take that data and render the images yourself. Now, I know of a few people who know how to do this, and it's a tedious, arcane process. These guys are responsible for piecing together some of those spectacular Gigapans of Mars. If they say they use the raw PDS data, then they did it themselves, not trusting in NASA to do that work. And often, their final product is much clearer than the NASA rendered product. But guess what? The obfuscation is still there. The smudges, the blurs. So what does this mean? I'll tell you what I think it means. It means the obfuscation process is being performed on the data before it is stored as the supposed raw PDS data. And I think it's being done by an advanced software program that renders and then analyzes the images for anything that might appear artificial to the human eye, with the exception of Rover sections that get into the shot. The software does its thing to the images, converts it back into PDS data, and then presents it to the majority of the fine NASA folk, the JPL folk, and whomever else folk, as the, by God, here it is, raw data. That's right. I think the vast majority of people that are right in the middle of it are being fooled just like the rest of us. I think there's another route for the true raw PDS data. And I think there's probably only a minute few who are privileged to view it. And I don't know who that is, and I probably don't want to know. Now, I think this software and its algorithms do a knockout job, obviously. But it is software created by humans, so there's flaws. You see, I'm not necessarily agreeing with others who think that there's things that are just left out there for us to see. I used to think that myself, but now I don't think so. I think there's mistakes made. And once the images are released, it's too late. Let's take a look. I don't want to get too deep into it by showing a whole bunch of images. We can save that for later. There'll be a lot of follow-ups coming, believe me. But what I really want to do is to show you that this cover-up is absolutely going on. And even if you already knew this was going on, or, sort of believed it, I bet you didn't know to what extent it's going on. And I'm about to show you that. And really, we can do that with just this one image. Now, as I mentioned, there's several guys who put these Gigapans together, guys like Neville Thompson and Neil Spence, and they do great work. Now, this one in particular was done by a man named Keith Laney, and I've got a lot of respect for this guy's work, and he's actually done work for NASA, and the guy knows what he's doing. He's not trying to fool anyone. Notice it says AI. That's an artificial intelligence assist in rendering this. These buttes, as they call them, are all around 30 feet high. That should give you an idea that this really isn't that big. Okay, you see basically a dirt-covered hill, mound, butte, right? Watch this. Now, if you would, follow my cursor to the right. I'm going to surprise you with something. See this object? Let's zoom in. Now that looks very much like just an irregularly shaped rock, just like everything else around it. But I'm here to tell you that is not what it is. Watch this. Do you see this? Remember how I said the algorithm, the software, makes mistakes. It makes a lot of mistakes. This is not an anomaly. This is a mistake. Yes, it's gold in color. I'm not going to say it's the element gold. The software, the algorithm, has interpreted this object as being artificial, probably because the entire thing is metallic. It changed its appearance, and all we're left with is the basic shape except for this mistake. Notice this? I hope you now realize that is also metallic. My contention is, and I'm going to stand by this, every single object you see in this frame is something other than a rock. Now, I've said that in the past, and there's been people that have laughed at me. There's people that follow the channel and understand this goes on, and they'll say things like, you're just going to have to understand that some of these are rocks. No, I will not. That's not what's going on, folks. Look at this. This has been disguised. These have all been disguised. And look right here at this one. You can see right here it missed a little section. Now let's back out a little bit. Here is our original odd-shaped rock with the metal on the end of it that we looked at, and look right here below it. Can you now at least imagine what's going on underneath this? I call it a digital facade, but if you'll look back here, it missed this right here. That is metal, folks. Everything that you see down here, including quite a bit of this, is something other than rock and dirt, folks. Now, instead of dragging you around on this side of this butte, let me show you a few other objects that really stand out where mistakes are made. Right here, actually, this is just to the left of this original object. There's another area right here where it appears to have completely missed changing the texture of this. More shiny gold colored with almost bronze in this area. Now here's an object where the process took full effect. You take a look at this. You know this is more than just a boulder lying around, but it has been changed to resemble a rock, at least as far as its texture. But if you look right here to the left, notice this. We have partial obfuscation here and then material here. If you will look on this extreme left side right in here is a nice small example of an object that was part of the obfuscation process. It caught this one, but for some reason it did not change this one. I would say more than likely this object has the same metallic texture and makeup as this one. It may be part of the same object. It's hard to tell. It's coming out from below, and I'm also telling you that this sand that you see everywhere, a good portion of it has been added by this process as well. Here's another object that was partially disguised here, but they missed this little section right here. Although it may have colorized it, you can still see the basic shape is absolutely not part of a rock. Sometimes things are blurred, sometimes the color changes, sometimes the texture, sometimes all three. Complete obfuscation up here. And this is very interesting. It appears that they completely missed this area right here. Very interesting. And the same thing here of this that is exposed. Another example of change all throughout here. And again, I don't think this is sand. I think this was added. And they try to make it look natural, like it's just natural Martian dirt. But if you'll notice here, they've missed this area and here, and specifically right here. More of that gold, metallic, whatever it is. I don't want to say it's gold, but it is gold in color. Everything that you look at has had something done to it. I'm going to say it one more time. They're not rocks, folks. And in an earlier video, I mentioned that I thought about 75% of some images were falsified. I'm going to say about 85% of this image is falsified. 85%. The only thing that remains is the basic shape of things. We're being completely fooled. And there's something else. Let's look right here. This may appear to be natural geologic formations, very similar to buttes that we have here on Earth. But if you'll look really close, now remember, this isn't really dirt and rock, but the basic shapes are still there of most things. And this is a support beam for this. Absolutely, that's what this is. Now it has been blurred, part of the obfuscation process, but the shape is still there. We have more right here that is broken away. And here is where one would have been, and it is probably broken off, broken away, and fallen down here into the rest of this mess somewhere. But this is not what it seems. I believe every bit of it is artificial. And if you will zoom in and look closely, you will see where the software has really missed. Look at this. That is metal underneath. Take a close look right in here. Again, here's that support mechanism here for this. And there's more down here if you will look. But I want you to look right here. Again, look. Look at this construction under here. This is not a natural butte, folks. I'm sorry. This isn't stuff that's just being exposed through the rock and debris. All of this is fake. All of this orange-brown is fake. The coverings, the outside is a digital facade of everything you are looking at, with the exception of where the software has misfired. This is the construction right here. A lot of blurring here. This continues up here. You can see where it has missed. And look at this. These are not anomalies. These are not the doings of Keith Laney's renderings. I'll show you briefly before we exit to where other renders, it's still there. It's just his is much clearer. This is outstanding work that he's done, and I believe this is the best that we can get right now, because this process was done to this image before it was stored as supposedly raw PDS data and made available to the public and to NASA, I believe. A lot of what people do notice in this image is this. And to me, it's pretty obvious that this is a area of devastation. Most people I know that really look into these images don't argue that. Where we differ is I'm claiming that all of this is fake. I'm claiming that this is a facade that's placed on this, that this is the shape of it, but it's probably not stone, rock. This was not a Stone Age or Bronze Age civilization. It was very advanced. We are being completely fooled, folks. These images I'm claiming are around 85% falsified. I invite you to look around for yourself. Follow the link in the description, and as I mentioned, I do want to show you this one more time. This is that original object. Here is NASA's render. I'm going to show you that object. Here it is. Notice it's not near as clear. It's still there. You can see the metal. It's not near as clear. But from a distance, they don't really care. This is all they really care for anyone to see. And if you look in over here, where we had the support beams and so forth, you can still see it quite plainly. But it is not as clear as what we're seeing in these Gigapans. With the use of stereoscopic imagery, with the 3D work, we're able to eliminate a lot of things, a lot of pareidolia. We don't want to get carried away with little people and dragons and so on and so forth. There is really something going on here, folks, and it's a whole lot more frightening than any of that. And as long as people are chasing their tails, looking for stuff like that, just having fun with this, NASA doesn't care. Those up in NASA, I say NASA, most of NASA doesn't know about this. They don't know what's going on. They hear rumors just like the rest of us. They see something's funny with these images, but they think it's the real PDS data, most of the folks. It's not. We are also using a 3D imagery to gauge size and distance. Anytime you see size and distance in any of our videos, we have used the Analyst Notebook to do that. It is very accurate. So we're not trying to fool you. We're trying to get to the truth. We're trying to eliminate mistakes we've made in the past and find out what is actually going on here. Stick with us. We're going to get to the truth.